We're in a 2015 Ford Fusion. I'm going to do a remote starting system. I'm going to start by flipping down the dash to get access to the plugs we need. The dash will flip down, and we're actually looking for a harness here underneath the dash that we're going to do all of our connections at. With the dash flipped down, I'm going to remove two 7mm screws so I can remove this whole dash assembly. Okay, I'm going to use my clip tool to just pop the clips . Just want to get this over out of the way so it's not flopping around in front of me while I'm working. Okay, I'm going to remove the 7mm from under the diagnostic plug as well. It appears we have one 7mm and one 8mm that we're going to need to remove. A little tight to get a socket on, so we're going to use our gear wrench. The wires that we're going to be dealing with are located on the plug on the back of the diagnostic switch. If you don't want to remove the switch, you can simply unplug the plug from the back of the diagnostic as well. If you look at the diagram, we're going to be dealing with two CAN networks, power and ground for this installation. We have a gray with orange and purple with orange is one pair of CAN wires, and we have a blue and a white as our other pair of CAN wires. We also have constant power on this end of the plug and ground at this end of the plug. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our connections. We're going to do strip and wrap on the two tiny CAN wires, and the rest we're going to use our T-taps on. I'll also send 3M T-taps out with this system as well if you decide to do your connections that way. On this vehicle, I'm just going to go ahead, since it's in my shop, I'm going to strip and wrap everything. You could definitely use it on all the bigger wires. The two small ones, they have to be stripped and wrapped anyway. So you want to make sure you have strippers with a small gauge and to be able to strip these wires, and you want to be careful not to cut them. Okay, we have everything stripped. We're going to do our wraps, and we're going to tape everything up. Okay, we're going to hit our connections with solder. Not required, but I'm going to do it anyway on mine. There's another harness that we're going to be dealing with. We need one connection for an ignition connection inside this harness that we took off the underside of the dash that goes over to the temperature sensor. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get it back here where the tape has a little gap in it. So we're going to find the wire that we need. Actually looking for a blue with a gray trace on it. Just take a little of that off, and we're going to go ahead. Going to find the blue with a gray trace. We've located the gray or the blue wire with a gray stripe. We've gone ahead and we've done our strip and wrap connection. We've connected our ignition wire from our Evo All to this connection, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to advance to programming. If you buy this kit from me, everything will be labeled so you can, you know, make it easier for you to install. Okay, I'm only offering this system for the 14 and 15 model years. It will work on the 13 model year, but a visit to the dealer would be required on the 13 model year. The 14 and 15 does not require a trip to the dealer. If you're putting it on a 13, then you have to go to the dealer and have them enable the remote starter for the vehicle. That is not required on the 14 and 15. Okay, this is what your installation should look like. It's very simple. This item is actually going to activate the computer in the vehicle's remote start system. So the remote starting is going to be done by the vehicle. The Evo is just going to be able to trigger that to happen. So we're going to go ahead and program. We're going to hold down the program button while inserting the 4-pin plug. We're going to release when the blue light comes on. It's going to be the first one to pop on. If you miss it, you just unplug the 4-pin and do it over. We're going to plug in our CAN plug, and we're going to plug in our 20-pin plug. We want to make sure also that we've plugged our diagnostic plug back in. I don't know if it will affect the programming, but I've gone ahead and I've plugged it back in, just in case. So we've got a solid blue light, and the next step is going to be to place the key in the ignition and turn the ignition to the on position. Don't start the vehicle, just turn the ignition on. The blue light will go out, and it will come back on, and then it will blink red and blue. The module is now programmed. We're going to go ahead and we're going to shut the key off and remove it from the ignition. From this point, we should be able to remote start the vehicle by locking the doors 3 times. Now, since this system activates the OEM remote starter, it works really well. It's turned on the heat for us automatically. The installation is done and the programming is complete. If yours is a standalone system, this is it. You don't have to do any more. It's time to reassemble the vehicle. Our next video, we're going to show you how to introduce the long-range RF kit to the Evo All for long-range starting. So if your system comes with the long-range remotes, you want to continue on to the next step. This is what the Evo is going to look like when it's running. Each one is assembled by me and configured, so your product may look a little different, but it will do the same thing. The antenna kit's going to come with an antenna, a cable, and 2 single button remotes. Okay, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to locate the coupler in the wiring harness if you have the model with the extended range antenna. We're going to take the 4-pin plug with a clip on it, and we're going to plug it into the open plug on the coupler. At this point, the long-range antenna is connected. We're going to go ahead and we're going to advance to programming the long-range antenna. To program it, we're going to remove the data plug or the 4-pin plug from the Evo, hold the program button down while plugging in the 4-pin. This time we're going to release when the blue and the red lights are on. From this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to press and hold the program button down again. The lights are going to go out, and then they're going to come back on. Now we're ready to introduce our remotes. We're going to take the key, we're going to put it in the ignition and turn it to the on position. When we do this, the yellow light in the center is going to come on. Now we're going to push button on our remote until the blue and the red LED blink, acknowledging the Evo has accepted the remotes. At this point, we're going to shut the key off and remove it from the ignition. The system is ready to be activated by the long-range remotes. We're going to go ahead and we're going to press and hold the button for 2 seconds. It's going to trigger the Evo to trigger the OEM remote starter. The vehicle is going to crank, start, and run for 15 minutes. To start the Ford Fusion with the OEM remote, simply lock the doors 3 times. This will activate the remote starter to start the vehicle.